Good evening. As it was announced previously on the previous session, the topic of this session is the practice from the Industrial Development Fund. And the name is actually funny. How to get interest rate for 5 years. So this story is real. From one hand, the fund gave this sum not for 1%, of course, but from 1 to 5%, depending on the program, gave some loans to more than 250 projects. They received real money from the fund. And all of this is working in our life. But from the other hand, as we understood from our previous session, if some conditions in the Russian economy, beginning with the very high interest rate and ending by the very strict regulation by the central bank, weren't existing, so the role of this fund wouldn't be so great. And as the theoretics say, this drop of this market, it is created by one hand of the state, and by the other hand, the state tries to, on the opposite, increase this economic growth. And so if we do something good, if we create such organizations as this fund, we would like to see them working fast, effectively, and in a transparent way. And it should be satisfactory for all the borrowers that take risks to address for the state support. We are promoting this experience, the experience of this fund, and we are not shy to share it. So the interest towards the fund is increasing, and it is being cited as an example on different platforms and by different personalities, beginning from the President of the Russian Federation and to our direct partners and to the Institute of Development from the other countries which are interested in the processes inside our country, which are interested in how we are gathering the projects, how we are assessing them, and so on. So today we will speak a bit about it, and we will hear the people who are taking these decisions as well as the borrowers who have taken risks to get this support and who have some results. Some of them had some difficulties, some of them got these results easier. But the main thing is the aim, is the target towards which we are all headed. So the presentation in details will be held by Roman Petruca, the director of the Industrial Development Fund. He will tell you about this fund in details. Please, Roman. So it is working. Okay. Good afternoon. So my task is here to briefly tell you about the products of this fund, to tell you how we are doing that, and to see some projects in the 2-month delay. So what is our ideology? What are our principles? It's the long-term loans. They say that we are given loans for 5 and 7 years, and so it is our advantage against other banks. We are not demanding the return of the money during the 3 first years, so we are giving you time to begin the production. Is it okay, the sound? The sound is not really good. Is it comfortable for you to listen to it? perhaps a bit closer to the microphone or something. Here. We want you to be comfortable. So the first principle is the long-term loans. For the first 3 years, you don't have to return the money. We are taking only the percent from 1 to 5 interest rate, because it is important just to take measures of your financial temperature once or in a quarter. So we have to see that you are able to pay the interest. And of course, we are very competitive towards the banking system. It is very available from the point of view of the cost. And we will tell you in details about our project. And the second criteria here it is that our loans are available from the point of view of the delays, of the time, and of the procedures. And also, it is refundable and repayable. We have a stereotype that the state money shouldn't be returned, and it is very comfortable for people who think that the state money shouldn't be returned, but this money are to be repaid. And I will tell you here, because here we have different representatives from different industrials. We are financing 20 different industries. And 90% of the projects of the different industries are available for us. Here, there are on this little screen, you see the industries that we are not financing. We are not financing the alimentary industry, drinks, alcohol, oil and gas, and the resources in principle. But I will tell you about the leasing program, and according to this program, you can finance the program, the company of the alimentary sector, in order to, for example, buy the refrigerators or some equipment for that. Today we have 6 programs. Here you see 7 of them, but the last of them is the digitalization of the industry. It's the trend of the last year. We are ready for that. And during these days, I think we will have a new decree which will establish the trends of this financement. And all the other features, there are just additional features or stimuli of the development of every industry. Of course, the conversion and so on. So let's see it in details. So here you see the matrix of the key characters of our products. The sum of the loan is from 500 million rubles. The rate is from 1 to 5%. You can take a photo of this slide. If you are interested in it, you can take a photo of this presentation, but all this information is on our site. So we begin from the basic problem. It's about the projects which create new enterprises, new productions. Here the rate is 5%, and there is the option to decrease this rate from 3% when the client brings us a bank guarantee. We take different mortgages, but the estimate and the discounts are more liberal than in the bank, because we are more loyal, because we are an institute for development. But we understand that the work with the property requires the monitoring and assessment and the realization in the worst case, but it is very bad for us because we are not a very big organization. And it is very comfortable for us when you bring us a sheet of paper and we are putting it in a safe, and we believe that it will be okay with your project. Of course, we have some co-financing, and some money should be invested by the investor himself, by the enterprise, and about 50% of the loan have to be brought by the client himself, or it's cash, or it's a loan, or it's some free money from the enterprise to which are to invest in the project. We believe that if the investor is investing his own money, he is increasing the stability of the project. Also, we have the machinery. Here you have the feature that you can take the loan for 7 years, and it is longer than our medium loan. And here you can return the money only in 5th year. And also we have the co-financement because of only for 30%, because it's the priority for a country. Also, the program of components. Here the rate is from 1 to 5%, and it is of course very priority for a state because it's deficient for a country. It's the pharmaceutical and machinery and electronics here, and you can have 1% for first 3 years and 5% for 4th and 5th year. Co-financing to up to 30%. All the rest is similar to other programs. The program conversion. We have some military enterprises here, great. But there are very few enterprises from your industry. You are oriented towards the state support, the state subsidiaries, but we have created the program with the rate of 1%, and the maximum loan is 850 million rubles. So we advise you to look at it, to look through these programs, and we are very loyal to our clients to finance the enterprises of the military industry. Are there any pharmaceutical companies? Okay, I will not say about it further. It is very simple here because we are compensating to the pharmaceutical industry. We are compensating the expense of the new regulations in Russia. And the leasing projects. If the budget of the project is 100 million rubles, we can give you 27 million rubles for 1%. 70% of leasing company will give you with the market rate, but the rate is decreasing. And the medium rate is, as we see it, 7–8%. So with such a scheme, if you have the minimum required, you can think about your own park of equipment. And what is important, we are working with the leasing companies within this scale, and we have 25 of them today, but we are waiting for the claims from other companies, and this is an open list. We can add some companies here. And if we address to a company to take a loan for the to buy an equipment, so we are working together. Also, here it is to be created soon. Is the digitalization of the production of the industry. We have some situations when the enterprise is working and they is not thinking about the modifications or creation several branches. Here we are giving money to digitalization and increasing of capacity. We are giving money for creating the control system, robotization, and the design. It's up to 500 million rubles, co-financing up to 30%, and a very important moment, the rate can be 1% or 5%. It depends on your partners, because there is an integrator in this project always. If this integrator is with Russian jurisdiction, we will support the demand for their services. But if in terms of this project you acquire the Russian software, it should be in the register of Ministry of Communications. But if you have found some software, European, for example, which is more suitable for your production, you will get 5%, but it is very good nonetheless. So here you have an example of approximate budget. We love to finance the purchases of the equipment, and you can spend up to 100% of the money to this purchase of equipment. And this loan is given to an account to one of the 6 banks. You can choose the bank by yourself, but we have access to all your payments, and we are look through your payments according to the plan. And we will check if there is a fake company, for example, from the other side. And I never received any complaints from our clients and borrowers that somebody is required from them extensive documents or prevents them from working through paperwork. So here you have the slide for the purchases of components, here the marking, the digitalization. Here we're giving money for the hardware, but not more than 30% of the loan. And what is important? On what can't you spend this money? You can spend this money on the building and the construction. Every program requires financing. So, and the construction, it's not very transparent segment of the market, and we are not okay with the non-transparent programs. So you build the box, the building, and we can help you to buy the equipment. And we are the fund for development. We are oriented towards the development and to create something, not to support something, not to maintain. And if you are looking for some working capital, you should go to the bank, not to us. Here is the structure of average loan. The average loan is about 200 million, and up to 70% of loans are spent for equipment and engineering, and just a bit of money for administrative costs, which are also allowed. Requirements to the pledge here. The requirements are very wide, and we like really the banking guarantees. And every 5th project is financed with the bank guarantee. And the clients bring it by themselves. We are not really torturing somebody into bringing these guarantees. And the expenses of the enterprise while working with our fund is that when we are on the final stage of the expertise and assessment, and we understand that the probability of you to getting this loan is very high, we will ask you to make a report of assessment. An independent company should say us that this sum of the pledge is more than the sum of the loan plus the percent, the interest. And I advise you here to do it earlier, the earliest, and it's the most difficult thing on the way of your claim through the fund. But the question is in the quality of this report. And of course, we have enough good specialists in this type of assessments, and you can find them. So we take them to work here, and they do this work brilliantly. Here you see the process of the assessment of the claim. The first stage is the express assessments, the resume, the CV of the project, so to say. It's a very simple form which checks itself. You can't, for example, ask for 1 billion rubles if the maximum sum is 500 million. And the computer just says you that you have to correct this number. And it checks the logic of your calendar plan, and you understand what is the basic product of this your project. And you just push the green button send, and with the 99% probability you are our client. And of course, you should tell in details why this product is necessary for your project and what will you do with it. This information you can find on the site, and there is information which documents are necessary on which stage. And we will not ask you for any original documents and any bunch, great piles of documents. You just make it in an electronic way. You send us through our website, and you have all the history of your documentation. Very often we correct a business plan. We see sometimes that the business plan isn't complying with your calendar plan, with your specifications, and we, together with you, of course, we are just adjusting this plan. So this stage of expertise is depending on you. How long will it take you to upload these documents? How long it will take you to scan these documents and upload them? But we had some history when instead of the documents we got just clean sheet of papers. It isn't a formality. We of course will check all these documents in electronic format, and all the recommendations of how to prepare these documents for uploading are present on our website. We don't require something very difficult. It's just practical and it's easy. So you upload all of it, and it complies with the basic requirements. And actually, there are only 6 persons in this fund, and you receive the contacts of the person that you will work with. You can contact him in any time, but we prefer the working chats because we can see how the person from the fund respond to your questions. And for a very long time, we have no complaints that we are impeding the development of the project. And we have all the chats and all the negotiations are written down. So here the complex expertise begin. The most simple lore expertise, we see that your director is rightful, and we have to see that the deal will be legitimate. You are taking the money for 5 years, and you have to understand how you will return it, how your project will generate the flow of the income. And here we are helping you, we are checking your calculation, and so we are looking at your financial literacy. So we are not a very big fund, not a very big organization. We are not specialists in all the industries. We can't know everything about radio electronics, about pharmaceutical industry, about oil and gas, and about chemistry. We gave it to outsource, and the specialist from Skolkovo, for example, gave us the expertise, the assessment of this project. And we don't know even this experts. And they are telling us, yes, this project can replace the imported goods in some ways, and the budget of the project is well based, and it is very well handled and reasonable. And also, in terms of the pledge, it's very important to have this report. And after that, there is a logistics expertise, and our specialist will go to your platform and see the equipment, all the networks, all the facilities. He just have to see that all that you have written down in the paper really does exist. We will look how the project will be monitored, what conditions will be written down according to the financement of this project. So please do not neglect this. And also the expert advice, expert council, the applicant tells about his project during 5-7 minutes. And please tell us about that in details.
Okay, Roman. I will turn from the moderator into a speaker for a short time. The experts community, the experts council, has sittings on average once a week. So what kind of people are there? That's one of the major differences of IDF from other governmental institutions. Up until recently, there was only one public figure, only one state official, and Oleg Teplov used to represent the presidential administration. Now he heads web innovations. So basically, those people are 5-6 people from largest banks and from commercial enterprises, from the Chamber of Commerce, from business community of Russia, or they represent the Agency of Strategic Initiatives, Rosnano, Association Stanka Instrument. Well, basically they are independent people, and very often they are rivals, they are competitors, both in terms of public works and in terms of issuing loans and guarantees. So these people consider very, very carefully that, God forbid, any member of the council should try to promote his or her candidate. So for the last 3 years out of the 4, there have been no attempts to corrupt this council. It's just meaningless because everybody observes everybody else, and that's the last instance, the instance of the last resort. And there is also the observation council headed by Minister Manturov, and when the experts community has approved of some large-scale project or approved of a project despite the negative opinion of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, or the expert council approved of a project of a company which is included into, for example, Rostech, where lots of projects had been approved of by this council. Only in those cases the observation committee gets into play and either supports or rejects the decision of the experts council. But in other cases, experts council is the means of last resort. That's the last instance. And even if we reject your proposal, it is not eventual. Even after the second or third attempt, people received money. The experts council doesn't like some things. For example, we do not like it when people from outside give us a phone call. So it's a negative thing, not a positive thing. It means for us that the project itself is not quite expedient and it needs some governmental outside support. We dislike it very much when our applicant does not know the market. For example, this is machine building industry and they do not understand who their rivals are, which volumes they can put on the market and how different they are from the rivals, what's their potential about winning tenders. So if they failed to conduct a proper research of the market, we dislike it very much. And we dislike it very much when they have some dubious mortgages or some dubious guarantees. We have our own sources of information, our own channels of getting information, and sometimes out of the 10 or 15 experts in our council, somebody knows something, and our experts council can consider a project even if the project received one or two negative assessments from the previous stages. Yes, it happened. And if our client insists on that, we are actually obliged to consider this project, even if the fund gives a negative assessment of this application. And there have been cases when we made positive decisions in such cases. But basically, in most cases, we agree with the IDF, with their assessment. And as for the expertise of the departments from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we are indifferent to that. We do not care much about that. We had decisions which coincided or which contradicted the decisions of the ministry. That is just one of possible opinions for us, and there can be a whole spectrum of opinions. But sometimes they could not even make it for our sittings. They have no time to prepare. And yet we consider the project because it is not a limitation for our own activity. So we have to provide for the time schedule which is stipulated over here. Sometimes we fail, but basically it is 55 days, 2 months. When you applied, then within 2 months you receive your money. All the covenants we make, they will be included into the contracts you have with us. We are very careful and thorough about all documents in all projects we receive in our folders. We study all the documents, business plan, financial model, accounting, bookkeeping documents, all these things which are stipulated on our website. During our sittings, we may not even invite the applicant. The applicant may sit in the lobby. If we see that the project is good, we can vote for it, and sometimes we have 15, 20 issues on our agenda, and sometimes if we see that the project is obviously very good, we do not even discuss it at length. But if there is a difference of opinions about the project, we will listen to everyone. And of course, we will listen to the applicant if the applicant disagrees with the decision of the fund. So it's a very democratic procedure, very transparent decision making, and we hope that our experience will be followed by other development institutions. And Roman, I give the floor back to you. It seems to me that it is very important to point it out about the work of this council. 4 out of every 5 projects are approved of. About 80% of the projects, applications, are approved of by the council. So here is a life hack about application to the council, and the hint is as follows. If somebody reads from the paper, we never approve of it. So you should includes your own charisma, your own personality. If you just read it from the paper, we will not approve of it. So here is our portfolio. Why am I showing it? We have examples when we have not only banking guarantees, we have guarantees from the regional corporation. For example, there is a foundation here in the Urals. We will take their guarantees as well. Very often they bring guarantees from other financial institutions, and we can use the equipment which is bought within the framework as a mortgage, as a guarantee. But before it is bought, we would need a different guarantee. And before they receive any equipment, they will have to use some other banking guarantee for the money they get. As for the regional governments, that's an instrument of dissemination for us. We have projects up to 100 million rubles, which are very significant for the regions. And how do we disseminate these projects? The lion's share of the work is done by the regional institutions, and we do the lion's share of financing. So, for example, it's 70 million rubles from our foundation and 30 million rubles from the regional foundations. And we have 2 agreements already, recently signed agreements. So if there are representatives from other regions, you should clarify whether you have corresponding institutions in your region and you can apply for financing to us. So here is our successful part. 270 financed projects, and contrary to the overall opinion that it takes a lot of time to go through the bank, but the average time for us to go through the expert council and sign all the documents, when you sign all the documents, we give out the governmental money to everybody on the same conditions. So it's useless to go to the lawyers and try to change something. And again, the average term, the average time spent is 2 months between your application and your receiving the money. So it takes you only 2 months to receive the money. And there are some cases when a beneficiary searches for his wife so that she approves of the guarantees he has given. We have 55 enterprises which already received financing. That is, some of them are built from scratch, and we've been working for 4 years already, and some of those projects were helped out at the medium stage or the final stage. So 55 of enterprises we financed are working. A very important direction of work, and you can get it straight from the horse's mouth. It's very simple to go to our call center. We have 2 lines of help over there, and they will explain everything to you about the assistance programs of Ministry of Trade and Finance. After the first call, we know you and we preserve all the data of our communication with you, and from the very beginning we understand at which stage we are with you. And half of the applications we approved of in 2017 went to us from the call center. So you can use email, call center, messenger. We keep all these communication and we'll love it when you assess our work. And our average assessment is 4.8 out of 5. And now you have an opportunity to ask questions, and I'm afraid I will have to run away within 5 minutes, so please ask me questions first. So get a microphone and ask your questions. Raise your hands and please pass the microphones. Can you hear me? I've got 2 questions about assistance. And one more question about the contract. Assistance programs for equipment leasing, equipment refurbishment. Is the equipment necessarily to be Russian-made, or can it be foreign-made? And the second question is about intellectual property and immaterial assets. What's your attitude to that, and special investment contracts connected with that? As for equipment, you can buy foreign-made equipment, but it's very important to point it out that we have in our expert council representatives of machine building industry, and they will ask you in detail why you have chosen a foreign supplier rather than a Russian supplier. And you will have to explain why you have chosen that very equipment. But there is no limitation, and in our agreement you have a separate line for foreign-made equipment and a separate line for Russian-made equipment. The second question: we are the operator of the third generation, and that's a very interesting instrument subsidizing from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. I recommend it highly to go to the site of the information system of Russian industry. There is a separate module over there, a navigator of assistance measures on the federal level and more than 600 instruments on the regional level. You can choose your own region and your own industry, and you will see which measures of assistance are relevant to you. There will be federal subsidies, regional subsidies, products of local and regional foundations, and we work with different institutions. They put all that information over there. If you see that something is not working over there and is not relevant over there, please go to our call center, call us, and we will tell you everything. And what was the third question once again? What is that special investment contract? That's a contract between the state and the investor, and in return for 750 million of investments, the investor is guaranteed that the taxation will not change. We have already 20 special investment contracts, and those enterprises which entered into those contracts will not be paying value-added tax 20%. And there can be, for example, 0% of taxation of property tax if it is stipulated with the region. And any subsidiary support, any additional support will be more easily given to you. And I haven't answered your question about R&D and intellectual property. We accept such costs 2 years after the initiation of the product. For example, you bought equipment, you initiated your product, you bought some equipment, you built some things. We will ask you to demonstrate the cost of these things, to demonstrate the payment documents, and you've invested a lot of things into the project. Then we trust you and understand that you are going to implement this project later. I would like to clarify it about the assessment. Do you accept the assessment of regional companies, or? Yes, I should have mentioned it. We are a small organization and we do not have either time or resources to assess any assessing company, that they have competence, they have good history. We just opened up the site of Sberbank, Внешторгbank, and all in all they have about 600 assessment companies they trust. If they trust those companies, we decided we can trust them, and once every 3 months we clarify this list, and this list of companies is on our website. You can choose this list of companies, and please show our requirements to them. So sometimes you can manipulate this assessing company. Please don't. You just demonstrate our requirements. We will see if you try to manipulate them. I'm the moderator. I will choose who is asking the question. Regional Center of Laser Technologies. The program of equipment and spare parts, the difference is 40 million, and with the original program is 2240. Will it go automatically through the regional foundation, or what's the procedure? My approach is as follows. If it falls within the framework of 2052, we will offend the region if we take it away from the region. Some regions lack money, so it would be better to use federal money and go through one procedure, through our foundation, rather than go on the regional level and there will be two steps over there. But if your framework 50 to 100 million, maybe it will be easier for you to go through our procedure. If it is below 50 million, then it will be easier to use yours. If your assessment is done by 600 companies, financial assessment, and the scientific assessment is done only by 2 organizations, why is it done by 2 organizations only? Is it stipulated here in the law? I firmly believe that there is not 100 of experts sitting in these 2 companies which are listed on our website. And I think they have a pool of experts and they outsource their expertise. And it would be unviable for us to make separate contracts with every expert. So we make a contract for every single expertise. We will lose a lot of time and we will lose a lot of money. So we are happy with the Skolkovo Foundation assessment company, and we have a couple of more contracts with automobile industry research institution, with some other institutions, and we work exclusively with them. $800 million rubles. If there are 400 million from the fund, 400 from the leasing and company, and 100 million of equipment, will you consider this application? So there is one project, 800 million, but you have up to 500 million. And if we go to a leasing company and 10% of the cost will be undertaken by the technology producing company, yes, you can receive 1 billion using this approach. We can give you up to 500 million ruble. We will give you 500 million. You will get 500 million. That will be already a billion. On a separate project, you can get additionally 500 million. But that will be only a third of the project you envisage. So if you have a project for 2.7 billion, you can have on different issues up to 1 billion from our fund. And on the first application, you will have to pay 1%, and on the other application, 3%. So yes, you can get money from different sources. But the key point over here is that you should invest your own money. You cannot take money here, take money there, and then run away to the Maldives. Can cluster enterprises borrow money? They, for example, produce wooden houses, we produce windows for the houses. Can we apply together? We ask for 20 million, they ask for 30 million. Can the two of us get united, and can we buy equipment together, for example? So you have two applicants then. Yes, there are two applicants, and there is a consortium. If you have a low budget like this, there are regional institutions, and you can find such a foundation in your region. You can go to those regional foundations. From the viewpoint of a small-scale project, it would be more expedient. So far, we have not had co-applicants. If there is a team which invented something wonderful, which develops our technology, but they do not have a proper credit story or proper background, usually they found a partner that has such a product, such a credit line or such a good story, and then that partner undertakes the risk, and you as shareholders decide how you split the profits and how you split the benefits. Let's thank Roman, and I will be able to answer your other questions if you have any. Now the floor is given to the people who have already received assistance from the fund, and they can share their experience with you. And now I give the law to the representative of Kostroma plant of automobile spare parts.
My name is Denis Schmigel. I am the representative of the Kostroma automotive component plant, the mark Motor Detail, and today our enterprise is the biggest enterprise in Russia and CIS. Which produces the components of piston cylinder units. We are producing the spare parts for different types of engines. And this block, we are producing details for the primary market and for the secondary, and we are working with such enterprises as KAMAZ, Ulyanovsky plant, and almost all the conveyors which are producing the engines are our partners. And a lot of our production is being sold on the secondary market through the wide network of dealers. Also, we are exporting our production, and we are exporting it to 40 countries of the world. Tell us about the work with the fund. I will tell all about it. We have met the fund in 2015, and the situation was rather difficult from the one hand. From the other hand, it was very perspective. The Russian producer of the engines realized the program of localization, and the engines which were imported earlier should be localized. So we saw a huge market, and we were running from one bank to another, searching for long loans and cheap loans. We were knocking at all the doors, open doors, closed doors, and on a meeting in the administration of the region, they advised us to go to the Industrial Development Fund and to try to present our projects there. We have done it, and in 2015, we made an application. We received the money 3 months later, and it's a real fact from our life. So that's true. And from the moment of the application, from the moment of the receiving of the money, it's 3 months, plus minus 2 days. What can I highlight here? 2015, it was the first project with which we have been working with the fund. In 2017, we needed more money for another project, and we went uh, to the fund again, and it wasn't the project development, it was the project, the components. And here, of course, the rate was 1% for the first 3 years and 5% for the next 2 years. And from the moment of the application to the moment of the receiving of the money, it was just 3 months. What can I advise? Don't be afraid, because if you want to take money to invest it in the production and to create this production, if you have the projects that you believe in, we recommend you, of course, to address yourselves to this fund and to make an application. All these procedures are very workable, which is very important. And everything is on the website of the fund. The information is very open, very detailed, and you can find on the website everything that is necessary for the work with the fund. It is available for everybody in any moment of time. Thank you very much, Denise. Please pay attention. If your project is long term, if you have several stages of your project, you can make several applications to the fund. And for example, you can make an application for development and for leasing program. You can come twice or 3 times while you finalize the previous stages. And now Andrei Lubaev, Sverdlovsk instrumental plant. But more critics, please. It would be a gift for us. I will tell about our practice and a bit about our plant. We began the modernization of our plant 4 years ago. We have been reconstructing our workshops, and we have been modernizing. We have bought different equipment, and we have modernized all the workshops of the plant, and also we have invested our own capital in it, and we have got some measures of support from the state. And the total amount of investment was more than 1 billion rubles. And you have mentioned the third decree by the government. We also have the decree number 218. It's the financement of R&D together with the Ural Federal University, and they are elaborating for us the modern equipment. So the program in which we are participating is the most profitable and most comfortable for us. It's the program, the components, which is called the components. So we have the direct financement. It's not the subsidies, and of course we have some report documents, and the requirements are very clear and very adequate. It's not the bank which will ask from you 3 times more from what you have taken. We have met this fund a year ago on Innoprom, and the initiators was the person from the fund, and they offered us the loan with 1% interest rate, and the pledge was some equipment, perhaps. And we weren't even expecting such a happiness. We were planning to develop gradually with our own funds, but we just calculated the variance, and we thought that it was a very good proposal, and it will increase the pace of our development. And so, as in the previous case, The assessment dured for 3 months, and we signed the contract 3 months after the application, and we received the money. It's not difficult to prepare the application and all the documents. If you have prepared sometimes the document for the bank, it's not difficult for you. The information is available on the website. And also we had a specialist who was helping us online and making the process interesting and really exciting. So, and also a couple of words about that experience. If we talk about the employees of the fund and compare with the employees of the banks, these people are interested in the projects, and they understand the problems of the clients, the difficulties of the industrials, and it is very comfortable to communicate with them. When we were getting the subsidies, we were planning 75% of Russian equipment. But despite that, we had, of course, some foreign equipment. We had currency accounts, and we had no problems with that. So 1 year has passed from our first meeting with the fund, and today we had engineering. We have paid for the studies. We have bought all the materials, and it was brought from the abroad. And there were, of course, some difficulties. When we were realizing these programs, we had some corrections, some changes in the expenses and in the equipment. But we prepared the documents and we made the report, and all the changes were accepted. There are changes that can be accepted through a simplified procedure, so can be realized. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, there were some programs that weren't going as planned. The components program, for example, was very easy and we had the flow of the applications, but the leasing program began in a very difficult way. Now you saw the list of the leasing companies, and there are a lot of them, but approximately 80% of the leasing activity is about transport, the ships, the planes, the cars, and it is in industry a final product. But with the leasing of equipment, it was always difficult. So we decided to create a leasing company, a branch company, which is called Innoprom Leasing, just in order to move it forward from the dead point. So we succeeded here, and we are a lot of leasing project. And every meeting of the advisory board, we have at least one leasing project. So now I give the floor to Dmitry Yeroshok, the director of Innoprom Leasing Company. Please tell us how it was for you to work with the fund. Are there any difficulties? Can we do something else for you, or in terms of the regulations or something else? Please. Now we will talk about the leasing in terms of a modernizing of the production. Of course, leasing of industrial equipment is not as developed in our country as leasing of transport and as leasing of on the retail market, for example. And the aim of our company was and we wanted to increase the amount of leasing projects. And also The Industrial Development Fund is our shareholder, should understand our difficulties. So we saw the problem with one of our clients when he had to get the investment by a program by the fund and by the leasing company, and then we had it was forbidden to get the financement from these two sources, and the advisory board took the decision, and so now you can add the leasing to any program of the fund. So this is not forbidden anymore. And the experience of our team is traditionally used in the leasing programs and the focus of the development of our industry equipment, but we are not limited by this. Very seldom the client needs a complex decision. For example, the purchase of the equipment and of technological lines. And our experience allows us to classify the objects of leasing which we can realize, which we can sell. The first block here is the traditional leasing. It is what does not require some finalization or improvement. So this product is final, it's produced, and this program can be added to another financial programs. And also we have two other products where we are more competent than other leasing companies. It is due to the fact that we have our own engineering, and the specialists who are working with you together with the financial specialists who are structurizing the business as in the banks. So the engineers help these financial specialists to build together, to group your application together. And the second part of the equipment that we are talking about is a product where the object of the leasing, together with the hardware, so to say, includes the mounting works, which includes the works that are necessary to put the object ready to operate. And the third block here, there are the complex objects. It's investment leasing. When the client needs, for example, to build a workshop, and this workshop should be equipped with the machinery. And we have a product that was developed by us and which is realized. And these are objects that include the real estate objects and also the software, different technical lines included in this project. For example, several data centers, it's a building with the equipment, with software, with hardware. So this is the object of leasing. How are we interacting with the fund? As we said previously, you need, as a client, to give 3% of your own money. It's your own participation, up to 20%, up to 27%. You will get as a loan from the cost of the equipment. The interest rate here is 1%, and all the rest, either we receive them through the banks, accredited banks, which are refinancing your project in the central bank, or if the passive assets of these banks are lower than the money provided by the central banks, so we are taking it from them. And the rate, which includes our interest, it's about 7%. And it is connected to the investment stage. If the equipment will be produced in very long term, and it is required more than a year to produce such an equipment, so it will be higher. But if the equipment is produced during 3 months, the rate is lower. What else differentiates us from other companies? We are focused on the development of the industrial equipment, and also we understand the topic if we talk about the liquidity of the equipment. And we can take risks if the financial state of the company isn't really good in terms of the contracts that are concluded by this company. And for example, if we have some project which we are financing, where the production will be for sure consumed or bought by big corporations. Here you see some banks that are working in the frames of this program. And this list is open. Here I will give you some examples of the projects that we have financed. For example, now the Transmash Holding company, we have created the technological line fully, and our client produces the wheel pairs for the railway wagons, and the cost of that was 69 million. And the second block is the tractor plant in St. Petersburg. The loan of the fund was 500 million, and here we are talking about the automatic gear. So they built the whole workshop, about 35 machines. We are purchasing them, and they have installed it. And there is a part, of course, of Russian manufacturers.
We don't have enough time, so please emphasize the most important points. The most important is that there are companies which work together with the Ministry of Industry and Trade and with the IDF, and they resolve difficult issues for the Russian industry. Thank you, and I pass the floor to Artemy. No, he's not here. He managed to run away. Then we will follow our schedule, and the floor is given to a member of that experts council of the foundation. And you also have to go away to the airport. Mikhail Khomich, deputy head of the government of Udmurt Republic. You have several projects running. I seem to be lagging behind. I do not remember how many projects you have. You said that you like criticism, and I wanted to criticize you. And the only thing I can criticize is you should be talking about yourself more. You should be advertising yourself. And we as regional government should help you with public relations campaign over here. And there is a specialist in our team who says, well, that used to be the case when we had no enterprise like yours, and now you have this success story about IDF. That is an absolutely wonderful thing, and we have an expert in our government who is responsible for helping you with filing the application, and it is doing good. It's helping others. And even if people do not want this help, we insist on providing that help. And it reminds me a history with the virus, when you have three companies which received money from IDF, that doesn't count. But when there are 30 companies, then there will be an exponential growth. And right now we have only 6 companies which received your help. But already we appointed an official who helping others to get the applications done. And now we would be happy to become a pilot project of yours with the project of increasing job efficiency. We would be ready to be a pilot project of yours in this kind of loan. And it seems to me that's the major task for any regional government, to set specific target figures for public officials, and then you have to have a huge advertising campaign. And thank God many people from your fund came to our region, and we keep advertising you. And still, you should not only say that you should fill out those applications. You should actually be monitoring the process of filling out applications. Thank you for the idea of doing good, and we will use your recommendation. Yes, we will make our own recommendations for other regions how to fill out our applications. Thanks a lot, and special thanks to those regional administrations which created their own regional foundations. And now we've got like 3 minutes per speech. Dmitry Kurochkin, also a member of our expert council and also a representative of an organization which is the most active in doing good. Thank you. And I will not give you the whole presentation of mine. I will just tell you that we have worked with the foundation from 2015, and we made an agreement together with the IDF and other regions in February 2016. Why are we so active in doing good? Because out of several hundred enterprises which lodged their applications to IDF, a large amount of them, like 2/3 of them, are our members, because we have 55,000 enterprises in our Chamber of Commerce, and we should stand for their interests. And it is but natural that from the very beginning we started helping them out with those projects. What is our role? What is our added value of the Chamber of Commerce? We think that we are useful, and the most important thing is that the enterprises themselves think that we are useful. Here are some statistical data. Of course, there is a kind of a competition, a kind of choice when there are several enterprises lodging their applications. And we have no specific preferences, as it has been mentioned. There is an expert council, but when we provide our support to the project for several few months or even years, our help is important, and we use our committees, our regional chambers of commerce, and we look at the projects both from the regional perspective and from the industry perspective. And now you see the scheme, how it works. We involve our chambers, and there are 108 of them. There are chambers of commerce in almost every large city in Russia, and they try to resolve a major part of issues connected with the support of the project. And the heads of our chambers became very active in all these projects from the very beginning of launching this system of work, and I think that the system is working efficiently right now, but it is done completely voluntarily. So when the enterprise comes to us, we coordinate our activity with IDF, but we do not impose our assistance. We only help those who ask us for assistance. For the last 3 years, together with the IDF and with the heads of our regional and local chambers, we visited dozens of enterprises, and you heard response from 2 or 3 enterprises today, but we have visited like dozens of them, and you wanted more criticism. As for the advantages, everybody says that there are professionals working in the IDF, and as for the disadvantages, as for criticism, usually criticism is connected with the assessment being more objective or less objective. The head of Kaluga Chamber of Commerce asked that question, and when we conduct our own events with the regional chambers, there are questions like we lodged 20 applications and only 2 of them were approved of, and it seems that the lion's share of applications was rejected, but when we try to clarify that, it turns out that the enterprise failed to comply with the regulations, and we pay close attention to every single application. We demonstrated here only 2 of the recent examples. For example, on fiber optics in Saransk in Mordovia, this May, half a year after the decision of financing had been made, we went to that area and resolved all the outstanding issues, and then we went to Ivanovo region. We resolved all the issues they had, and we published 2 books on the issues were resolved with them. Thank you very much, and we like it very much that you enlighten people and enterprises through your system of chambers of commerce, which you have like more than 100 of them. And the final words will be given to Sergei Frolov. Please tell us in brief about your own project. Thank you. It won't take me more than 2 minutes. We are quite a large company, and it is but natural that, as any other large company, we have our debts accumulated, and we work only in Russia. We are a mining company. We mine iron ore and coal, and we produce cast iron. But within the structure of our holding, we also have Polema enterprise. It produces cobalt, nickel, chromium, molybdenum, tungsten, powders, and it is high-tech project which can be used for innovative products. And that product has very high added value, and it is very important for import replacing. And we focused our attention on developing this enterprise using assistance from IDF. Why did we like IDF? Well, the low interest rate in comparison with the banks. 5% is a very good thing in comparison with the banks. And we comply with all the requirements of IDF, and we implemented 2 projects already. Our first project was signed, the agreement was signed in the end of 2016. That was a project for powders for 3D printing, and we were the first enterprise in Russia which started producing powders for 3D printing. And 15 months later, we signed an agreement on machine building. Again, powders for machine building and high temperature processes. What we would like to advise to companies which would like to establish relations with IDF. First, there are limitations. For example, within 6 months for one enterprise, there should be between signing the agreement and lodging another application. So in our case, we postponed the process, and our second application was made only after the signature received on the first project. But if you want to receive money every 6 months for very interesting projects which are needed by the Russian economy, and if you want to earn money, I advise you to run preparation in parallel. So by the moment you have one agreement signed, you have all the documents ready for the second application to IDF. And I would agree with the words of the previous speakers that it is very important while working out your application to focus on the market and research the market. And we conducted our own market research, and we outsourced market research and conducted very deep analysis of the market. And those results were included into our business plan, which we submitted within our application. Next thing is that you should create a working group. If you have a holding, in our case, we set up a working group which worked out the whole project, and once a week we had a meeting of that working group, and different enterprises looked at each other and learned from each other and learned about the process of submitting on the documents and the processes of interrelating with the IDF, and that helped us further and gave us basically 100% guarantee that we would receive approval of this IDF. Dear colleagues, I thank you all, and we've run out of time. We should finalize our session, and I advise you to not to be afraid and ask questions. Come to us. You have all our addresses and you have our website. Please give us a call. Be brave. And those of you who have already gone through all these procedures, we count on your dissemination of information. You have your own partners, you have your own clients, and if you have doubts about their reliability, please send them to our fund and we will help you with all your investment projects. Thank you all.